Okay, so if they're spiritual beings, which I believe they are.
What makes you draw that conclusion that they're spiritual?
What's the obvious? It goes outside of what we understand about physics. And there's video of these things coming out of the sky into the water and also emerging from the water.
Right.
What if people knew about these? Everybody knew about these. They'd be freaked out. And I often think that. Okay, we have something super interesting to cover today. And by the way, if you're like, Isaiah, where have you been? I've actually been going live. I was on a 2-week vacation, and then I've gone live a few times since. I just preached a 2-hour message this last Monday. So go to my live tab on my channel. I haven't uploaded a video in a month, but I've been doing live videos, so go check that out. That's actually the most important part of my content. But I want to talk about Tucker Carlson on the Joe Rogan podcast. The reason why I'm even talking about this is Joe Rogan has the #1 podcast in the world. So whatever he says is extremely influential. And they did a 3-hour podcast. The first 8 minutes is what I'm going to cover. Joe Rogan starts asking him about aliens, and Tucker Carlson's response to what aliens are, I actually agree with. That's what I believe aliens are, and it might shock you. But let's jump into this. And this is a reaction video. I'll post the full link down below. If you don't want to hear my reaction and me pausing it and talking, go watch the full video, but don't comment saying, Isaiah, you're talking too much and pausing it. That's why it's called a reaction video. That's the point. It's fair use, okay? Otherwise, you can just go watch on their channel. But let's jump into this super interesting stuff. Here we go.
Upper level is okay, so if they're spiritual beings, which I believe they are, it's a binary. They're either, you're on team good or team bad. You can assign any name to it you want, but what are they?
So they start the clip a little bit late. In the beginning of the interview, he's asking what aliens are, and Tucker Carlson is saying, I believe they're spiritual beings. So that's where we're picking up on, is him saying, I believe aliens are actually spirits.
These things, are they good or bad? And I think some of them are bad. And if the U.S. government knows that, or elements, the people within the U.S. government know that, then they're serving a bad force. And
well, when you say spiritual, what makes you draw that conclusion that they're spiritual?
What's the obvious? Spiritual may be the wrong word. Supernatural. They're beyond nature as we understand it. Obviously they are.
So here Tucker Carlson is on the largest podcast in the world saying he believes aliens are spiritual beings, being angels or fallen angels. And that's why he says some are bad, because there are angels and there are fallen angels, demonic spirits, demons. And this is where the world's trying to figure out, what are these things that we're seeing? And the world doesn't understand it. They're not going to be able to just say, these are demons. This is what the Bible teaches. So they try to say, they're just aliens. They're just a phenomenon and interesting.
Just chart their physical behavior. It doesn't, it goes outside of what we understand about physics. No visible means of propulsion, coming at indescribable speed, hitting the ocean, continuing at speeds that are impossible undersea. In other words, if I take a 9mm round, 7.62 by 39, and shoot you at 50 yards underwater in a swimming pool, and it's even more intense in salt water because it's denser, you could catch the bullet if it even makes it to you, right? So if you have a craft, any object underwater that's traveling at 500.
Everybody ever heard of a marine spirit? A marine demon? Demons that dwell in the water? Just saying.
100 knots as measured by sonar. Right there, you're challenging our understanding of physics. What is that? How can that be? So yeah.
They've tracked that? They've tracked things going 500 knots under the sea?
Yeah, really. Yeah, much faster than any object can actually go undersea. For sure. Oh, yeah. There's a lot of stuff going on underwater, and a lot. And there's video of these things coming out of the sky into the water and also emerging from the water.
Right.
Sounds like Leviathan. I haven't done any videos on marine spirit specifically. I'm kind of don't fully understand it and know enough about it to do a teaching, but eventually I will do a teaching on marine spirits, and the Bible talks a lot about the waters, and demonic spirits do dwell in the water, but that'll be another video.
Yeah. So
it's all so blurry, though.
I don't think it's that
transmedium video.
Yeah, I don't think some of it's that blurry. I think some of it's crystal clear.
We just don't have access to it? Is that what you mean?
Yeah.
Just we haven't seen it?
Correct.
So they have some stuff.
For sure. So, but there's just a lot going on underwater, and it's measured. And so whatever. These are all, again, this is the most obvious observable level of it, but then you just ask yourself, what is this actually? And, if there's been extensive knowledge of this for decades, maybe 80 years at least, if not going back to the 30s, 90 years, to what end? So there are two possible explanations, obvious explanations. The first is the one you often hear, which is this is so heavy that if the public were to know about it, it would be just disruptive. It would be too scary. You don't want to scare people for no good reason. There's nothing we can do about it. And you also don't want to suggest that, the U.S. military isn't capable of protecting the country, the homeland. And it does suggest that. If you can't control these objects in your airspace, and that's known, if they can't, that's known, okay? Then that suggests a limit to the power of the U.S. military, and you don't want to tell people that because then they won't believe that they're safe. I get it.
And that is the truth. Guys, the U.S. military cannot control these objects because these objects are demonic spirits. They are fallen angels. The Bible says, I'm going to show you scripture in a minute, the devil is the prince of the power of the air. And the military, the physical military, cannot do anything to combat principalities, powers, rulers of darkness, demonic spirits, Ephesians 6 tells us about, that are controlling entire regions, controlling entire countries, controlling entire races, and people groups are being controlled by these demons, and the government, any government, can't do anything about it. The only military that has power over these quote-unquote aliens, which are actually demons, is God's military, is the army of God. We, according to the Bible, have authority over demonic spirits. We can trample on scorpions and serpents, and over all the power, we have power over all of the enemy. So what he's saying is actually true. The government doesn't want to say anything because they don't have the ability to protect humanity from these aliens. That is true. And then his other point is, man, what if people knew about these? Everybody knew about these. They'd be freaked out. And I often think that, I do a lot of deliverance ministry. I cast out a lot of demons. Obviously on my channel, if you don't know me, I have a lot of teaching on how to cast out demons. I have a book coming out in November about how to cast out demons. And I often think, like, what if everybody knew about these? What if everybody realized there's a spiritual realm all around us? And I'll show you scripture later for that. And it's actually dictating what we see in the world that we see with our eyes is being dictated by what's happening in the spiritual realm. So he's hitting the nail on the head on all points. And remember, he's saying he believes these are spiritual beings, not actual aliens.
But then there's a deeper level, which is like, okay, what's your relationship with these things? What is the U.S. government's relationship with these things? And there's evidence that there is a relationship and that it's a longstanding. And that
there's a relationship with these demons, the government. Have you seen the president? I mean, come on, guys. We know that demonic spirits are running politics right now. Let's just be honest. Killing babies, the LGBTQD, whatever it is, agenda. We know that these are demonic spirits running these things.
Raises like a lot of questions about intent. And so like, what is that? And I just personally decided, and people have been hurt by these things. That's a fact. That's a fact. It's a knowable fact. It's a provable fact. And killed. And I'm not saying millions of people have been killed by whatever these things are, but people have been killed, and it's known because it's working its way through the courts out of the VA. So,
okay, so he's saying people have been, a lot to talk about here, so I'm going to keep pausing it. But he's saying people have been killed by these aliens, these, what he believes is spiritual beings, fallen angels, demonic spirits. I was watching years ago this like show about alien abductions and people saying at night, this is what the aliens came and put a chip in me and abducted me, all this. Guys, it sounds, when I was watching this secular show about like real interviews of people that have been abducted by aliens, it sounded just like people that I deal with that manifest demons or have demonic attacks at night. I mean, if I talk to someone that says I got attacked by a demon at night, it sounded identical to people that say I'm getting abducted by an alien or having this alien encounter at night. So I personally believe 1,000% aliens are demonic spirits. And you talk about the air, these aircrafts. Again, the devil's the prince of the power of the air.
I don't know. An object that is by definition supernatural. It's above the laws of nature as we understand them. And that has resulted in the deaths of people. We don't spend enough time thinking about like what that adds up to. Like, not good, actually, not good.
How many people do you think have died from these things?
I don't know, but I mean,
And is it radiation sickness? Is it like, what is...
Joe, he's like, what are we talking here? How many people have died by these demons? Well, millions, more than that. And he's like, is it radiation sickness? He's just not grasping. It's a spiritual thing.
So the person that I talked to, I interviewed someone who was a Stanford medical school professor who's out there and worth talking to, by the way. And
you're talking about Gary Nolan?
That's exactly who I'm talking about. Who's effectively an expert witness in these cases, so he's an expert in brain injury. Do you know him?
Yeah.
Yeah. Entirely credible person. Checks all the boxes that I care about. He's got patents, so he's like a lot of Stanford University professors. He's like independently rich. I mean, he flew to, I live in a remote place, and he flew to my place at his own expense because he wanted to tell his story. So he's got no profit motive here. He's the most highly credentialed person at the university, practically, Stanford Medical School. We consider that a big deal. And he's worked on this for over 10 years, assessing the injuries to U.S. servicemen from being in close proximity to these objects or having contact with these objects. And his conclusion, as you know, because you've talked to him, is that there's some kind of energy coming off here that scrambles people's brains or kills them. And it's not exactly radiation, at least in his telling to me. So anyway, but the point is, people have died.
Yeah.
And so, it does raise a lot of questions about like what the hell, right? What the hell? American citizens have died, and you're hiding it. Why are you hiding that? Why would you hide that?
Perhaps because they don't have any explanations. Because it's so beyond our comprehension.
Yeah, and this is again a grasp for people to try to understand demonic spirits and fallen angels without a biblical worldview or the Bible. They don't know how to describe it. Same thing with like a lot of mental illnesses. They're just like, oh, you have this. And it's like, if you have a voice talking to you, that's a demon. You don't need to they don't know what to say. The doctors are going to say, you have a demon, you need to go get deliverance. So they're going to make a name for it. They're going to title it. They're going to give you medication. But for some things, not everything, they're actually demonic spirits. Like when you have people like, I hear voices, oh, you're schizophrenic. Or you have demons talking to you and you need to get deliverance.
That they're still trying to piece it together. Like, I would wonder how much interaction they really do have with these things. Like, if I was from another planet or if I was some interdimensional being, I don't know how much I'd give a shit about the president. I don't know how much I'd give a shit about the government. I would probably look at this infantile race, this species.
Yeah, he doesn't understand that the devil is trying to destroy humanity. So he cares a lot about what's happening in the world, and so do demons, because they hate humans. They hate us. We're made in the image of God, and they hate that. And because the devil could never go to heaven or be with God because he got cast out, he wants to make sure we don't go there.
This bizarre territorial apes with thermonuclear weapons, this very weird species, I'd probably look at them as very chaotic, and I wouldn't really have much concern for who's running it, especially if they have the ability to travel at insane speeds and go undetected. And
well, it depends. Like that. Okay, so the template that you're using to understand this is like science fiction, right? These are an advanced race of beings from somewhere else. But the template that every other society before us has used is a spiritual one. Mm-hmm. There is a whole world that we can't see that acts on people, a supernatural world. It's acting on us all the time for good and bad. Every society has thought this before ours. In fact, every society in all recorded history has thought that until...
So everybody's thought that there was a supernatural world, which the Bible teaches. I'm going to show you 3 verses about that right after this really quick. But he says, everybody's believed that until now. Now, all of a sudden, there is no supernatural world of people.
Well, I'll be specific. August 1945, when we dropped the atom bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and all of a sudden, the West is just officially secular. We're God. There is no God but us. And that's the world that we have grown up in, but that's an anomaly. Like, no one else has ever thought that. There's never been a society that thought that. Every other society has assumed, and they've had all kinds of different explanations, and the details differ, but the core idea does not differ, never has differed from caves until now, that we're being acted on by spiritual forces at all times. And so to someone born before, or living before 1945, I think it would have been much more obvious that this is the thing that every society has written about. And in fact, that battle, that unseen battle around us, that spiritual battle, has like been the basis of every society, of every religion, not just Christianity. So, like, it just once you discard your very, very recent assumptions, relatively speaking, about how the world works, you're like, well, that kind of seems like the obvious explanation, right?
So interesting. So let me show you guys a couple of verses about what he's talking about, okay, just to prove the point is biblical. Ephesians 2:2. When we talk about the air and aliens and them moving in the air and going super fast and all of these things, Ephesians 2 says, and you he made alive who were dead in trespasses and sins, in which you once walked according to the course of this world, according to, and it's talking about the devil here, the prince of the power of the air. Okay, so the devil, who we walked according to, is the prince of the power of the where? The air. Where do they see these UFOs? Where do they see these aliens? Where do they have evidence of alien activity? In the air. The spirit who now works in the sons of disobedience. So here we see now it's spiritual. Among whom also we conduct ourselves in the lust of the flesh, fulfilling the desires of the flesh and of the mind, and we're by nature children of wrath, just as others. So it's talking about the devil's the prince of the power of the air, the spirit who now works in the sons of disobedience. The devil's spirit, demonic spirits, the devil's spirits are working in the sons of disobedience, okay? And that is Ephesians 2. And then let's look at this, which is what he was kind of talking about, Colossians 1:16, right? So he was saying everything's spiritual, and it is. For by him talking about Jesus, all things were created that are in heaven and on earth, visible and invisible. So now we have 2 realms, the visible realm and the invisible realm. And then look what it says here, whether thrones or dominions or principalities, these are demons over regions, prince powers, prince demons, or powers, this is all spiritual here, all things are created through him and for him. So Christ has created everything. He is the image of the invisible God, the firstborn of all creation. This is Christ. Okay, and he's made principalities, powers, rulers, this invisible realm. And he is before all things, and in him all things consist. He is the head of the body, the church, who's the beginning of the firstborn from the dead, and all things by him have preeminence. Okay, so that's the spiritual realm, Colossians 1:16 we're talking about. Let's look at one more here, 2 Corinthians 4, verse 18, 2 Corinthians 4:18. Well, we do not look at the things which are seen. That's the natural realm, okay? So we have the seen realm, but at things which are not seen. So now we have the seen realm and the unseen realm. Two things here. For which things are seen are temporary. So now we have the temporary realm, which is the seen realm. But the things which are not seen are eternal, the eternal realm. Okay. So we have a realm that you can see. That's where me and you function in. There's a realm around us, like I just reiterated, Colossians 1:16, that you can't see. And the realm you can see, everything you can see right now is temporary. It's fading away. It's going away. We all exist in the temporary realm, but one day we won't exist in the temporary realm. You have family members that passed away years ago. They no longer exist in the temporary realm, but they exist eternally in the spiritual realm or the eternal realm. You will exist in the eternal realm, either in heaven or in hell. So that's the place that matters, and that's the place you can't see with your eyes, the spiritual realm. So this is very, very telling here, everything that they're talking about, because a lot of people won't discuss that aliens are actually spiritual beings. And I think Tucker Carlson hit the nail on the head, the largest podcast in the world. And here he's saying to Joe Rogan, these are demons. These are spiritual beings, okay? These are fallen angels. Say what you want. Some are bad, some are good, he says. Which, if you watch the full segment, it's a 3-hour podcast. I didn't listen to the whole thing. I only listened to this segment. But there's a couple minutes before this where he says these are spiritual beings, demonic beings type thing, which it's not in this clip. But yeah, I would like to know, because I know a lot of you are intrigued by aliens. What do you think aliens are? I really think this whole alien narrative is just setting us up for when the rapture of the church happens, so the world can say this was aliens, not Christ. Think about this. When Christ takes his church, they're going to say it wasn't Christ that took them, it was aliens that abducted the world. And then they're going to attribute that to not giving God credit for rapturing his church and coming back, but giving the aliens credit. So I think it's a setup for what's coming. I think a lot of stuff we're seeing in the world is a setup for what's coming, including the mark of the beast, including worshiping the Antichrist, including mass perversion, confusion, and disillusion. But this is just another thing. And I personally believe these are demonic spirits in the water, in the air. Interesting enough, and I'll do a marine spirits video at some point. But I think that it's important that we know what they are, and it's important that we realize we're fighting against them. We are in a war against them. This is not time to be idle. This is not time to be on the sidelines. There's a real battle going on, and as Christians, we have power and authority over the enemy. The military can't help us from these things. The government can't protect us from these things. Only the power of Christ, only coming in the name of Jesus, can protect us. I have a book coming out in November called How to Cast Out Demons. You can pre-order it in the description. Also, check my live tab on my channel. Okay, these videos are just, I do these for fun. But these are not the meat of my channel. Go to my live videos. They're multiple hour-long broadcasts, teaching the word, preaching the word. That's where my Bible study stuff is. Go to the live tab and watch that stuff. I love you guys. Appreciate you guys. I'm live Monday night, Tuesday night, and Thursday at noon. I'll see you guys in the next video. God bless.